Al Unser Jr.
12 laps to go.
Fuel ceases to be an issue. Now this is going to raise the price of poker.
Trying to listen to the two-way radios.
This is going to be a shootout. Now, when it does go green, if they get this cleaned up, which they'll try very hard in the 12 laps of the race.
They're being probably get a good idea. It didn't look like I ran through anything. I went right down to the inside of the track, got her load. It looks pretty good.
Okay. It's, this time by, it's going to be about 11 laps to go. Junior's going to come around, so he's going to be in the back of the field. But we're in pretty good shape here.
So, while the caution is out, we'll leave for just a moment, and we'll be back. Back at the Michigan 500, under this caution for Alessandro Zampedri, they have a lot of debris up on the racetrack. Gil DeFerrin is into the pits. Christian Fittipaldi came in with a shredded right rear, may have run over some debris there. There is Scott Pruitt. Now 1, 2, count the cars back to Al Unser Jr. 3
was, of course, Villeneuve.
4, 5. Look at the distance. 6. That's Emerson. 7. Well, now 6. And there. Not yet. So. That, of course, is Tail.
Tail, yeah.
So Al Unser Jr.
Eight cars between them.
We're looking for him. There he is. There he is.
But we know that could be made up in a moment if he gets a break.
Let's go to the pits. Begin with Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, in the leaders' pits, here's the wisdom that they're passing on to us. As soon as they heard that Al Jr. had gone out of the race, what they did is they radioed into Scott Pruitt, go to 6th gear. That's that overdrive gear, Bobby, that you've been talking about all day. Now they feel they've got plenty of fuel to go the distance, and if they have to, they can run their full speed gear for the remainder of this race when it goes back to green. What about at your end, Gare?
Well, Jack, in this situation here, the big discussion as the yellow came out, they were trying to make a decision as to whether or not Junior was going to come in and get a different set of tires and that they would tinker with the air pressure a little bit to impact the handling characteristics of the car. Of course, the great disappointment of that blistered right rear cost them the position on the racetrack. They made the decision and changed their mind, changed it again. They finally elected to keep him out, and as you gentlemen counted, 8 spots between where Junior is and the leader, Scott Pruitt. Awful lot to make up in very little time.
Well, let's give you a full field rundown. 10 laps to go. The leader is Scott Pruitt under the yellow. One of the things that is also interesting to me as we look at that full field rundown, Bobby, is that we know that...
Try and get him cleaned up and give us another reading. Lay back from the pace car a little bit.
We know that from the Penske team, Rick Mears and Clive Hall have been watching from up on top of the grandstand, so they can tell little Al what lies ahead. I don't think Scott Pruitt has a spotter up here.
Well, it really isn't going to affect or help anything right now. Having a spotter up there is always nice. There's the little stand that the spotter's at, which is right alongside of us up here, best seats in the house. But it won't make any difference now. Little Al, unfortunately, has 8 guys to go by. He'll probably get by those 8 guys with Adrian Fernandez in the pits getting tires, probably had a puncture. Get Rick Gallus's car. But it won't make any difference because he just doesn't have enough time unless Scott misses a gear shift, has a flat tire. That's what everybody's worried about right now. It's like Adrian. He might have had a puncture there. They're all worried about going through the wrecks because the carbon fiber, which is the body, is just like glass that cuts tires.
All right, let's pay attention again to Scott Pruitt and his two-way communications.
He's just working his car back and forth now, feeling to make sure he doesn't have a tire going down. See, the driver can't see the rear tires. He can see them in his mirror, but they don't look like much. So he's feeling it right now to make sure he doesn't have a slow leaker like a little pinhole.
Let's go to Jack.
Well, you don't think Team Penske's feeling the heat? You see the crew member walking away down here, all the way down, did a sprint all the way up towards the front of the field to the cars that are between Al Unser Jr. and Scott Pruitt and began to lobby, and we don't know whether effectively or not, if they would move over and let Al Jr. go to the front and try and race for the lead. Don't know how the lobbying turned out.
Yeah, you figure you have to take a chance, though. You have to try and argue it.
Yes, that's for sure. You know, there's plenty of room to pass it, like as we've said all day. The problem is he needs a certain groove to attain the speed he needs
Yeah, it's
to
going through
catch
that
Scott.
oil that's across the front straight.
Notice how calm
Pretty good now.
Pruitt sounds calm, almost laconic to me in view of the few
Feels
moments
okay
that
now.
separate him
Well,
from
we got 8 laps to go.
the high point, the culmination of his racing career.
The big worry right now, the way I see it, is going to be whether or not either one of them, or either one of the three, including Adrian Fernandez and the Gallus cart's running third, we got to keep track of him too. But if these guys have a flat or miss a gear shift, do something like that we would call stupid at the start, that would be bad.
But it could happen easily. If Pruitt, Bobby, you're so right, missed a gear shift on the restart, which I doubt he'll do, he could suddenly find himself in mid-pack.
You can hear how cool he is, though. This Pruitt doesn't get rattled. He came up through go-kart racing. This guy's been around a long time.
He's the defending Trans Am champion. In his year off from IndyCar racing, he just went and won the Trans Am.
Probably 3 more laps of yellow, Jackaroo.
Paul, we're talking about where the spotters are. You talked about Clive Hall and Rick Mears being up in the best seat in the house. Found out where Scott Pruitt's spotters are. See, way up there at the end of the grandstands, they say 5 rows down. They bought a ticket.
Cart can't
Well,
stop him.
their car owner doesn't own the speedway.
Cart can't stop him from doing that, that's for sure.
Let's go to Gary.
Well, as the countdown continues looking for green, one of the busiest guys from the Penske camp is Peter Twitty, who's running from team to team trying to find out whether or not they can get cooperation so Junior can pick up some ground. And among those that they're lobbying, teammate Emerson Fittipaldi. And I mean, Twitty has just been back and forth, and then back and forth again.
We know that Twitty could be a heck of a salesman now, don't we?
I said, have you had any luck? And he says, I've got lots of luck. Right now he's talking to Chuck Sprague, who's on the radio with Emerson's team.
Still pretty dirty up there in turn 4. Quite a bit to clean up.
Well, the teams, I think all of them were relieved to see that Penske, who's not the dominant force this year that he had been in the last few years, it's really broken this season open, made it the best season for IndyCar racing in a long time. But they want everybody to have a fair shake. And when you know a man wants to work his way through the pack, you at least want to know he's there and see if you can give him a chance.
Al Unser Jr. pulls up, wants to make sure Teo Fabi knows exactly what he intends when they go to the restart. They're still trying to get a cleanup there. They've picked up all the little pieces, and believe me, there were a bunch.
And they have to clean it up. They have to be fair to everybody. That would be an unsafe circumstance to start it now.
Like a lot of those guys that just got to let them go on the restart, so we're going to have to be on our toes.
Boy, that's the news, all right.
That's Jim
McGee.
Pruitt. It's serious back there. Pete Twitty's been out selling.
And McGee knows it. That's the point. He's
Yeah, but
done
now
his
does
work.
McGee send somebody down the pits?
No.
To lobby the other way?
No,
And he doesn't have the chip either. But here's McGee, because there's a Firestone Goodyear chip here too. And
Remember, McGee used to run Penske Racing. He used to be the general manager over there.
McGee is you're probably looking at the face of the most experienced crew chief in this business, wouldn't you say, Bobby?
Well, when you combine the teams up, what incredible experience. Patrick Racing, Penske Racing.
He's the modern day George Bignotti. There's no question about that. Jim McGee is the most experienced of anybody here.
We've jumped back about 5 years in time, 5 or 6 years in time.
Let's look up.
Okay, it's going to be green next time by. You can go to 12 o'clock now in 5th gear.
Yep, there's the finger. 1 more lap to go.
5th gear, so
And
they
they'll go
know
green.
that's the go gear. 5th is.
And I think
Junior's only 1, 2, 3, 4 cars behind.
And I
Right
think-
on your bus.
And I think we can assume the 12 setting is the maximum power setting
Absolutely.
as well. Whatever the signals may be,
You hear
we now
Jim?
know that.
Sam, did you hear him say he's on your button and go, whew?
Yeah.
Full rich. All the power you can use. 6 laps to go,
Okay,
Gary
5
Gerald.
laps to go. 5 laps to go.
Very critical it's going to be the start. How much of a jump that Pruitt gets.
Gary?
The lobbying paid off because Emerson Fittipaldi just came in and got a splash of fuel. That means, of course, that his teammate Al Unser Jr. moves up at least 1 spot.
Oh,
That closes the gap. 5 to go.
There he is on the left of the screen. That's
Yeah.
how close they are. They are
3
real
cars.
close.
So we're going to have a sprint to the finish. Of course, We're running close to our time limit here. We're going to get the end of the race for you. Don't worry about that. What we may miss is an interview with Scott Pruitt on his first IndyCar win.
He has taken that big jump. I knew he'd have to. And he gets the green.
All right.
That's
now,
decisive.
the game is Al Unser Jr. He runs high. Christian Fittipaldi overhauls tail Fabi low. Little Al stays high. So that's one car.
There's Ray Hall right in front of Little Al. Ray Hall.
Got a signal from Ray Hall. Come to my inside.
Scott's still a long ways in front.
2.5 seconds.
That was the last crossing line. We'll find them now.
That draft right there is really helping Little Al. Not hurting him right there.
Get behind you now. The next car behind you.
And now he is. Let Jim McGee do the play-by-play.
But in fact, Little Al may have enjoyed an advantage slipstreaming or drafting the other cars that he won't have now.
Going to be difficult.
Last lap Pruitt, 229 miles an hour. Last lap Unser Jr., 228.4.
Gap down to half a second.
Little Al's got a big draft now. He's got a really good one.
Pruitt is a very defensive driver.
Little Al tries to the outside as the white flag comes out. Side by side through the first turn. Little Al takes the advantage running high and comes into the lead. Less than 2 miles to go now in this 500-mile run, and Al Unser Jr. picks the lead up again. But what about Scott? He's going to chase Al everywhere he can.
He's got the draft now.
So Scott Pruitt may have the advantage coming to the final turns. Did he move too quick? Did he move too soon?
He's still
They
got
continue side by side. Al Unser Jr. and Scott Pruitt come to the line, and Pruitt's got him. Scott Pruitt takes the win.
One of the best races I've seen.
Scott Pruitt scores his first IndyCar win, the 36th for his owner, Pat Patrick, and the third Michigan 500 win.
Fabulous race.
So there it is. There was the finish of the race. Scott Pruitt timed it absolutely perfect. For a moment, I thought he'd gone just a little bit too early, but not so. Perfect timing. And Scott Pruitt takes the win by inches here in the Michigan 500. Here's Jack Arute.
Well, Jim McGee trying to make his way over to victory lane, and he is so excited. Jim, congratulations.
Oh, thanks a lot. That was a great race. I mean, Scott's he's got a lot of spunk, and after all he's been through in his racing career, it's absolutely incredible. I'm so proud and happy for him, and he's a true champ.
Let's go back up to you.
So Scott Pruitt, Scooter, has taken his first win in the Michigan 500. We'll see you next Saturday at the Brickyard 400.